Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. Hey everyone, welcome to our newest episode. I'm thrilled to have you here, and I'm also thrilled to have April Little. Her company is called Paradigm Lift Coaching, and she actually has two businesses, so we're going to learn lots today. So welcome to the show, April. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much, Jeanne. It's lovely to be here.
Excellent. So let's start with your journey. How did you become a Paradigm Lift coaching, and what is a Paradigm Lift coach?
So Paradigm Lift, I gave it its name because it's obviously misspelled, but since no one knows how to spell paradigm anyway, and the URL was taken, but it was important for me to express the idea of lifting paradigms. So not just shifting paradigms, but lifting them. So that's why we named it Paradigm Lift Coaching. And this is our umbrella company that we have a couple of coaching sub businesses under. And one of those businesses is my husband and I coach entrepreneur couples. And we call that program Quarterly Ever After because it is a quarter-based program. And then I coach female entrepreneurs, leaders, coaches, and consultants. And I help coach them in a deeper level of self-care and a commitment to self-care and to soul care and an embodiment so that they don't have to experience any of that imposter syndrome that a lot of coaches experience, and so that they're constantly leading and serving from overflow and not from depletion.
I love that. Yes, the imposter syndrome does rear its ugly head.
It does.
Want it to.
Yes.
But tell us a little bit about how you got there. What did you start out doing? And then, kind of how did it evolve into paradigm coaching?
So it's kind of an interesting story. At least it's interesting to me, having lived it. I didn't ever have any intention of coaching anyone. I probably would have been one of the furthest things from my mind, to be honest with you. I was in a completely different space at the time that this calling came to me, which is what I always tell people. This was a calling for me. This was not a choice that I consciously made until after I got the calling. And then I was like, of course. But I was actually in real estate investment at the time that this calling came to me. And it's interesting to look back now on the things that I have been involved with over the course of my life that have led me right to this exact place. And I can probably almost directly connect everything that I've been involved with and everything, all other businesses that I've had and other experiences that I've had and teaching opportunities and leading opportunities and things like that to this place that I'm at right now. So if I were to tell you exactly how I got here, I would say it came as a calling. It was, I wish I could tell you what year it was. I'm the worst with years. If I count backwards, I could tell you. I think it was December of 22, I think, is when I got my calling. So and it was very hard for me. It was a very hard calling for me to accept, mainly because I knew that meant that I would have to become visible. And I was not real comfortable with that for a lot of different reasons. I had to really do some self-work around that and dig kind of deep into what my issues were around that. And I found that one of my biggest issues was my own judgment of other women who were highly visible and who did put themselves out there quite a bit and who were, posting a lot of like selfies or a lot of videos of themselves or whatever. And I had some really unkind judgment that I was making towards a lot of them. And basically my thought process somewhere in my mind was that that I didn't want to be that I didn't want to become that because it wasn't nice what I was saying. And so so I had to really get over all of that in order to really step into this role. And obviously I needed also a lot of education in a lot of different areas. And so luckily I am like a major go-getter. So if I decide I'm going to do something, it's done yesterday. So yeah, I spent a lot of time in education, which I think is really important. Obviously, one of the first things I did was hire my own coach. Because I am really, really serious about embodiment and about not teaching something that I won't live myself. And so I knew that if I was going to ask people to hire me as a coach, that I needed to hire coaches. So that was one of the first things that I did as well.
I love that. Yeah. That's why we have this podcast, is because we know just hire coaches, because coaches know how important coaches are.
100%.
We've all got our
Totally.
coaches, and we all need them.
Yes, so badly.
It's so interesting that you talk about not wanting to be visible. And I think, my business partner and I went through the same thing and are almost still going through it.
Yeah.
We have a podcast, but it's still not comfortable.
Yes.
Maybe it's just a social media thing. I don't want to get on there and go, let me tell you the 5 tips for this, and let me try and look enthusiastic. And yeah, so you really have to, if you needed that, you really have to kind of dig to find that person to inspire you to just the word authentic drives me nuts because everybody uses it, but to just come across as you and to feel good in that skin.
I could not agree more with that. I think that is really the key, is to be, and actually authentic is one of my favorite words. So I do think it's just key to be authentic, to be yourself, because I still to this day, I have a social media manager, and when we first started working together, they were like, okay, this is what's trending on TikTok, so let's do that. I was like, absolutely not. Like, that's just not me. And so it will come across as being performative. And I'm not a performer. I'm a coach. You know what I mean? I am not here to dance and sing, but I will do what is true to me, and I will talk about what is real to me all day long. And if that means being in front of the camera, that's completely fine with me now. But I don't perform. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not a performer.
No, I totally get what you mean. And there's a lot of performing going on online.
Yes.
So a real estate investor to a coach. And I love how you called it a calling, because actually one woman I spoke to earlier was talking about leaning into your intuition and let that drive you. And I imagine that's how you ended up on this road as well.
Yes, for sure. I would say it was almost like a voice telling me. So again, it was a strange place. I knew I was coming out of one thing. I knew I was coming out of real estate investment. It had not been kind to me. And so I knew that, like, I wasn't going to stay on that path, but I didn't really have any expectations for what my next path would be, or my next steps would be. And in that kind of space of the unknown, where so many things are, available to us and can happen, I remember the moment I was like literally driving around one evening, just running errands with my husband. And I was like, oh no. I mean, I was almost like talking back to it, going, no, that's not going to happen. No, that's not. And I remember talking to him and saying, look, I think maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but like, how am I going to do that without being seen? And he was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. You're going to have to put yourself out there. And I was like, but that means I have to put myself out there. And he's like, yeah, it does mean that. And so it was like this whole conversation about, and I was like, oh, I'm going to have to get over that then. And like, thank God, I had already been doing a lot of work on myself for years by this time. And so I knew what that looked like. I knew what it looked like to know you have a gap, and to be able to identify that, and then know that there's going to be work that needs to be done. And that, I knew to be to be introspective, to look inside myself and be like, where's the issue coming from? And like, what do I need to do next? And so thank goodness I had already been on that path for a very long time. And I knew that there was going to be work to be done. And so, yeah, it was, but I remember like the moment, and it really was almost like I said, it was like a voice that was like, well, you need to be coaching women. And I was like, please no. But I'll tell you again, it's such an interesting thing, because I think I have in some ways, I have quite a rebellious spirit, but when I know that messages are coming from the universe or from the divine, I am not one to hesitate. And it's always, anytime that I do what I'm told or what I believe that I'm supposed to be doing in that, from that, from like a download or a divine message or whatever, it always turns out really well. And the thing is that I guess I shouldn't even say it that way. Sometimes it turns out super bad, but it always turns out for my good. You know what I mean? Like I always learn so much or grow so much, or sometimes it just turns out beautifully. You know what I mean? So I have really learned to follow those things, to follow my downloads. And the more I do it and the better I get at it, the better life gets.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to listen for them, don't you?
Yes.
To listen and feel for it. So once you decided that this was going to be your path, what did you do?
I started gathering information. I'm a mega researcher by nature. I love information. I love learning and I love to research things. And so I started researching what it really is a coach. What does that mean? Who do I need in my circle, in my sphere? And just started gathering all those components to myself. And that was a long process. And it was not something like I didn't get the calling. And then the next day I became a really great coach. That's just not how it worked. Wouldn't that be great? But no, it was like literally years. I actually just feel now that I am where I really want to be. And I think that I was just talking to somebody about this the other day. It wasn't that I needed this step and this step and this step and this step specifically. It was that taking every single step that I took and the time that it took and the patience that I had to develop and master and all these different things actually just made me into the person that I needed to be able to do the job that I need to do. And so I've been coaching for a while, but like, and not that I'm saying that I was not coaching badly at all. It was just that I am just now feeling like I'm the person that was meant to be doing what I'm doing right now. So a lot of it is, I feel like when you step into your purpose, that's always the end result, is that there's like a dual thing going on. One is you're blessing the world in the way that you were called to bless the world. And the other is you're becoming more and more and more of your actual self and fully in your potential. And so I feel like I've really stepped into that recently. And it's like the most amazing, beautiful place to be. It's just been really fun.
Oh, I love that. That's such a great description. Because, yeah, it does take some time because you're fighting old thoughts and old habits, and you're trying to form the new ones that are going to get you in the right place. And you stumble and you fall, and
Yep.
you don't do everything right. That's just the way it is.
Right. Yeah, it is. It's all about becoming who you need to be. You know what I mean? That next version of yourself. And that does take time.
I love that. And I also love the fact that that kind of feeds into my business partner and I always believe, there's more than enough business to go around.
Oh, for sure.
We can all help each other instead of sometimes there's a perception that, ooh, I don't want to tell you about that because that I want that person to be my client or that type of thing. And, not everybody's going to resonate with everyone, especially if it's a coach. You need to find the right person for you and the person that's going to help you.
Yeah, definitely. I think coaches are like therapists. It has to be a really good fit. And, definitely there's clients for every coach for sure, for absolute sure. And one of the things that I definitely see in the world that I am trying to correct in the world, if you will, which is a really bad way of saying it, but I like a paradigm lift that I would love to see in the world and that I'm actively working on is that whole idea of women being in competition with other women, because I actually have a Facebook group that I recently started. That's all this is about. It's about training women into celebrating and lifting and supporting other women, no matter what they're into or what they look like or what that looks like or how far ahead they are of you or whatever. Let's drop the jealousy and the competition because it's not serving us as women. And so I feel like there has never been a time in the world where women have had more opportunity and more open doors. And a lot of times what's keeping us down is ourselves and each other. And so let's get to work on those things and let's rise up, because women are going to change the world. This is going to be the next big shift in the world, is women really stepping into their power and their own potential. But we won't be able to do that to the same degree that we could if we're busy holding each other down with our other hand. You know what I'm saying? And so, or competing with each other. We don't need to compete. There's plenty of space. There's plenty of everything for everyone. And you just got to, kind of step into that abundance mindset as far as that goes. But it's a blessing to be able to, and this is something that I did learn while I was in real estate investment, was I had to learn to genuinely be able to support and cheer for other women who were a step or two ahead of me, which was not something that was supernatural for me. I had no problem cheering for every kind of woman who wasn't doing the same thing as me. Like, no problem. Oh, a CEO, yay. Oh, a librarian. You know what I mean? Like, I was cheering for all the women doing all the things that I wasn't doing. But when it came to cheering for women who were doing the same thing that I was doing, but maybe again, a little bit better or a little bit more successfully or a couple of steps ahead of me, that's where I found kind of my ceiling that I needed to break through myself. Was like, I need to learn how to cheer for women in that position who are actually doing better than me. And now, girl, I could cheer for, like, I am so happy for, if you literally, if I coach someone and they make twice the amount of money suddenly that I'm making, girl, you know what I mean? Like, woo. So like, I have learned to do that with a genuine heart, but it wasn't easy, and it took a lot of practice. And that's what I'm trying to cultivate in this particular Facebook group. Is just like, let's cheer for everyone, no matter what the situation is, because it actually makes us better. And that rising tide really does lift all boats.
That is so fantastic. I love that perspective, and you're absolutely right. We need to encourage each other, especially as women, because for so long we've been doing everything, and we don't need to do everything for everyone and say yes to everything. Boundaries are okay and are very good and are necessary in order for us to help the people we can help the most.
Yeah. And also, it's fine to be different. It's actually really great to be different. If you're not like me, if you have totally different viewpoints than I do, if your perspective is so different than mine and your experiences are different and what you want is different and how you live is different, then awesome. Like, let me cheer for that too. The world needs that kind of diversity and beauty in it. And you don't need to be like me for me to be able to cheer for you. So that's a whole thing as well that I see, a lot of us struggling with as a society. But if we cheer for that, if we celebrate, that means it gives us freedom too. It goes both ways. Everything is a two-way street.
Absolutely. Do you want to tell us the name of your Facebook group?
Oh, sure. It's called Woman Wisdom Revolution.
Ooh, I love that. I will put a link to that in the comments in the show notes below, so everybody can get in there and join that. So
yes, we would love to have you.
So tell us a little bit about somebody who's listening, who's thinking, wow, I love what she has to say, but is also thinking, well, is this the right time for me? So tell us a little bit about the clients that you work with and kind of where they are.
So that is an interesting question too. It's changed a lot. Again, I think that's part of the evolution of, your coaching business, is that you're going to take on certain clients, and then you're going to realize, okay, well, that's not quite right. And then there's a lot of iteration involved, is what I'm saying. So at this point, I coach high earning, high vibe women who are just not quite, they're just not really fully in embodiment. And they know they've done work, they've done a lot of work, and they understand work and the value of it, but they keep slipping in and out of just, I guess, embodiment. They keep slipping in and out of like really living what they're teaching. And so because of that, they're experiencing some of this kind of icky, everybody calls it imposter syndrome. They sort of sometimes realize that they're teaching things that they aren't really living, and it feels gross, and it feels really efforty. And also they have slipped back into, usually it's when they're starting to scale and they're starting to get more and more clients. And so it's like you have this sort of dichotomy going on where there's like, all my dreams are coming true. Everything I've worked for is starting to be real. And as that happens, they sort of start dropping back into old patterns of not fully caring for themselves and starting to put other people first. And usually it's clients at that point. So they're like, oh, well, this client needs this. And so boundaries start dropping a little bit, that self-care aspect, it starts because they're like, okay, well, if I take on one more client or two more clients, then it's this much more money. And they've gotten to that point where their machines are working in terms of like them bringing in clients and like actually making the money. But when that happens and they're like, well, let me take on two more clients because it means this much more money, then what happens is they just drop something that they were doing for themselves. So then their morning gets crowded and then they're rushing again. And like before they even really realize what's happening, they have fallen back into old patterns. And so it's my job to come in and help them become really incredibly solid in themselves, who they are, what they want, how their business fits into the life that they want and the life that they're creating, and also back into really, really being solid in boundaries and putting themselves first. Because when you put yourself first and you come into everything whole and happy and cared for, then you're that much better at every single role. And you're going to be a better coach and it's going to be obvious and you're going to be, a better mentor, whether or not you're trying to mentor someone, they're watching you. They see what you're doing in real life. You know what I mean? And there's also energy to all of that. And there's a vibe to all of that. And so if you're coming in and you're actually fatigued and tired by working with them, they can tell. They may not even be able to name it, but they can definitely tell. And so if you want to be the best coach and the best person and also the happiest and the most fulfilled, then you need it needs to be coming from the inside of you. And it needs to be overflow as opposed to like really just efforting all the time.
Isn't that funny that I was just talking to somebody about this, that sometimes when things come easy for us, we question it. Oh, well, that's too easy. It shouldn't flow that easily. There's got to be, let me mess this up.
Yeah, that's self-sabotage for sure.
And the other thing is I was talking to somebody and they said, I remember reading an article and he said, it was a man, but he said, I was speaking in front of an audience and I don't know, they paid him like $5,000 to speak in front of this audience. And there was quite a famous speaker in the audience who he didn't even know was there. And he said, he walked up to him and he said, I'm going to have someone call you and you're going to charge them $25,000 to speak in front of their audience. And he was like, okay, now I have to step into a persona.
Yes.
I can say I'm teaching the same thing, but now instead of being worth 5,000, I'm worth 5 times that much. So it is definitely something you have to step into and ultimately get yourself to believe. I guess it's not the best way to say it, but to believe that you are worth that and that you can help people and that they will find that what they've gotten from what they spent is far more important than what they spent.
And I think, that really goes to identity work is like, what is your identity? Because if you don't believe that you are or what you say or your message is worth $25,000, that is going to feel hard and icky. You know what I mean? You have to, and that's the becoming of everything. That's exactly what I was talking about before with myself. You have to step into a different person. I mean, like you have to become a different person. You have to step into another level of yourself to be able to do certain things. You know what I mean? Like when, it's not that you change everything around you. It really is that you change you first. That really is where everything comes from. And so, and actually that goes to my book too, which I mentioned to you before, is like that my book is called The Me First Paradox. And it's literally all about this. It's all about putting yourself first and leading with leading self, right? Being a self leader before you're an anything else leader, being putting yourself first in terms of the care that you're giving so that you come into the world as a producer and not a consumer. All it's all about all of these things. And so there's a lot to it, but it is, I believe it to be a really great book. Now, I am able to say that for a couple of reasons. One is I tell people this all the time. I'm not sure I wrote a book at all. I channeled a book. It flowed out of me in weeks. I had written an entire book in a few weeks because it was something that, again, the universe wanted out there right now. It wanted it to be, it was a message that needed to be said. And I always tell people too, it's my love letter to womankind. Like if I could, it was born out of like this really kind of sad moment for me where I had been to visit one of my children who lives out of state for Christmas last year. So we had an early Christmas with them and then we came home. So it was a very quiet Christmas day. And I had been doing this traveling. And so I had been on my phone like a lot during, sitting at the airport and stuff like that. And I had seen a lot of women in my life who were going through these really big transitions in their lives. Some of them were getting divorced. Some of them were starting to really think about the fact that their children were going to be leaving for college in 5 months, and that was it. And then once they weren't full-time moms anymore, what were they going to do? And some of them were losing jobs and careers and things like this. And a lot of them were just feeling like this overwhelming sense of just completely being lost because they had so identified themselves with a role that they were playing. And it just made me so profoundly sad and so desirous to be able to tell them what I know and like reach out to them and coach every single one of them. And knowing that that wasn't going to be a possibility, like my immediate next thought was, okay, cool. Well, then let me write it all down in a book so that anyone has access to this, right? And I think I've probably given away as many copies as I've sold because I just want people to have it. I'm not trying to be a best-selling author. I may never write another book again. It doesn't matter. That's not the thing. It's the message. I need the message to be out there. I need women to be able to have this. And so it is not a book just of like information and me telling you what I know from, experience or anything. It is that, but it is got a lot of built-in work. And so I wanted people to be able to have this as like, okay, I can't coach you, but I can coach you. Here's a book. And it's all in here, right? I actually had a really good friend of mine come up to me the other day, and I could tell she was so excited, like her physical body. I could just tell she'd like reached out and grabbed my hands and she goes, I have to tell you, I'm on page 161 and I'm going to have to sell all my businesses. And I was like, oh my God, that is so exciting because she had realized from reading the book that because it talks a lot about really being who you really are and being that authentic person. And who are you though? And what do you truly want? Because so many of us have no idea. And so many of us have never even been asked the question. So we've never asked it of ourselves. You know what I mean? We've just done the things that we've been told we should do. And so she had actually been doing the work in the book, which was amazing because I love to hear that. And she had realized that she wasn't in her purpose. And so she was going to get rid of the things that weren't purposeful for her and turn to something that she knew exactly. She's had vision. She knows exactly what she's supposed to be doing. And this was sort of like her businesses are kind of related. And so she was kind of following the path until she fell into this thing of like the making of the money thing. Which don't get me wrong, that's very important. You have to be able to survive. Money is the currency we use to, exchange for goods and services. So clearly you need money, but like she will find the money will come. It's just, she needed to take one step back. So where she is just, it's close, it's parallel, but it's not the real thing. And now she knows the real thing. And she's like so excited about turning her life upside down. But like I love that, that the book has been able to actually make real shifts and changes in people. And I heard another woman at a women's meeting that I attend. She was in a small group behind me, and I could hear her telling them about doing some of the work in one of my books. I mean, in my book, some of the work in my book. And I was just like, I mean, again, it's just like the best, most amazing feeling to know that women's lives are actually changing, that they're changing their own lives. I'm not doing that. That's their work. But I just was able to provide this little vehicle that they use. And that's been really exciting.
That's amazing. Oh, you are making so many wonderful things happen in the world. I love that. And you actually said something that I think I said, you step into becoming a different person, but you said you step into a different level of yourself.
Yeah.
And I love that, because that makes even more sense that it's a part of you. You just haven't gotten there yet.
100%. Like, I think that has been such a fun realization for me, is that I say this all the time, there's always another level. Like, there's always going to be another level. It doesn't ever stop. That's eternal growth out there to be had. And it's just like, where do you want to go? You can keep on moving, you can keep on leveling up, but it's never not going to be you. You've always been you. You always will be you. There's different phases, of course. And sometimes we are really good at burying or covering up or masking the real us, but we were born ourselves, and those are always, always there. But there is like the opportunity to continue to grow and to develop and to expand for as long as we want. And that is so fun and so exciting to me. I love it.
That's totally exciting. I love this. April, this has been so much fun and so interesting and so exciting. You got us all excited about the future. We're going to put a link to your book in the show notes. I say
awesome.
We'll do that, and your Facebook group. So I know there are people listening who are saying, oh my gosh, I need to talk to April and see if I can work with her. So what is the best way for them to reach out to you?
So for right now, the best way is just to DM me on Facebook. I have my personal Facebook page is just April Little, and you'll see my little face. And then if you were to go into the Women Wisdom Revolution page, you can also just, message me, DM me, drop me something that says, hey, I need to talk to you, whatever it is. That's the best way to reach out to me right now.
Okay, perfect. I have one last question, but you've already touched on so many inspiring and passionate and deep pieces today, but I'm going to ask you, if you could give the world one tip to make it a better place, what would that be?
I would say that the number one tip that I try to live by, and that I would love to see more people live by, is to make decisions based on there's really only two options ever. And the options are fear and love. And so to make your decisions based on love. And I think that the more that we do that, the greater this world will become.
Oh, perfect. What a lovely way to end. April, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been such a pleasure.
Thank you, Jeannie. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.